Hello Techies, welcome back to our channel UiPath by Sujitha. In this video we are going to learn about an activity that is generate data table from text. So this is an activity which is used to generate data table. So in yesterday's videos we have learned about the data tables and various activities or methods which are available in UiPath to create data tables. This is one among them. So let us use this session as a workshop. So let us have one practice session while using this generate data table from text activity. Okay. So what is generate data table from text? So you can, by the name itself, you can understand, right? So we can use this activity in order to generate a data table using a text which is having a structured data. Okay, so let us see its definition. It is used to create a data table from structured data by letting the user indicate the row and column separators. So when we use this activity, we are supposed to provide the row and column separators in order to identify the rows and columns using the structured text. Now let us have a practice session in order to use this activity. How the structured text looks like and how can we add this row and column separators, indicate the rows and column separators in this activity. Okay, so let us quickly move on to our UiPath Studio. I request you to please do this practice session along with me so that it will be easy for you to understand the concept, as well as whenever it is needed, you can definitely do your best. Okay, for this I'm going to create a new sequence that is generate data table sequence. Okay, so I'm quickly adding one sequence here and renaming this sequence as generate data table sequence and giving an annotation about this, what it is going to do. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do, generate a data table using text file. So for that, reading the text data first and then copy the data to a Excel file. So in between, we are copying that data from the text to a data table. Later, we'll be writing this value, writing the data to an Excel file as an output. Okay, so this is our agenda. Now let us see how to do this. For that, what I'm doing, I'm having a text file, a structured data. Let me show you that. So this is my text file. If you see here, let me open this in normal text. Yeah, yes. So this is my text file. So if you could see here, emp underscore f name, emp underscore l name, age, emp underscore id. And then coming to next line, the data, next line, data. So you could see this is in a particular structured format, right? It is separated with a new line for each row, and it is separated with a semicolon for each value. Fine. So this is nothing but a structured file. It is following a format. Fine. Structured data. Now what is our agenda? We are supposed to use generate data table with text activity. For that, what I'm going to do, first we are supposed to read our text file, right? So let me use generate data table from text. Just type generate data table from text. It is under data table. Okay, so just drag and drop and specifies the source of the text, right? So give your input here. Let us get the data from the text file. For that, we are supposed to read text file, right? So for that, we have something called read text file, this activity. Okay, what it will do, just mouse over to it, copies all the characters from a specified text file included in this system.activities file. Now I'm going to read this I'm going to use this activity to read the data from my text file. Where is my text file? It is in projects folder, which is, yes, this one, emp underscore details. So whatever characters which we read, it is supposed to be saved in a string variable. For that, I'm using control plus K. I'm giving emp details. Okay, so that's it. So now coming back to our generate data table. So we have something called input, options and data table. Just move to properties panel, selecting this activity, and you could see the common properties, continue on error, all these you are already aware of this, right? If we wish to continue the execution even if it throws any error, we can specify this as true. Fine. Next, display name. So I can rename this generate employee data table. Fine. And you could give the column size as well, and column separators and CSV parsing. This we can change this accordingly. Formatting options, as I told you when we read this definition, letting the user indicate the row and column separators. So we are supposed to give the row and column separators. That means row is nothing but the new line separator and column separator. Okay, we'll show you how to use all these things. And this is data table where it is it is being stored into a data table. It, in the sense, data, whatever data we have read from the text file being stored to a str string, this one, right? Now let us pass this string value into structured string. It is not a normal one, whereas I'll show you, I'll keep a log message here how it looks like. So I'm going to keep a log message just for our information, and I'm going to bring structured data from text file. Yes, this one. Okay, so now let us come back to our generate employee data table. Okay, so we are supposed to pass the input, right? What is our input here? It is nothing but the string value which we got as a result of read text file activity. Fine. Now there is something called options. Let us just open this, and you could see a generate data table wizard where we could see sample input, test preview, and few table options and data formatting options. Fine. Now if you see here, this is automatically, by default it's been selected, saying auto detect column types. So instead of this, I'm going to use first row as column headers, because when I open my text file, let me open my text file. Yeah, this is my text file where the first row I have already set it as headers, right? Header column names. Now that is the reason I'm mentioning here, like, use first row as column headers. Okay, fine. Now coming to data formatting options, there is one more option, ignore first column. Ignore first column we could use if we don't want to read the first column data. Auto detect column types, it will automatically detect the column types. That means the data type of each column. Okay, so we can use it or not. Let us preview this. Later we can decide whether to use this or not. Okay, so because in the text file we have nowhere given the data type, right? Say first name, employee first name should be in string, employee last name should be in string, age should be in integer, and employee should be in int32. We have nowhere given that, right? So that is the reason, if we want this executor to be automatically detect the data types of each column, then we can use this. Okay, Now let us come back to data formatting options, where by default it is showing custom, and when we click on this there is something called CSV comma separated value as well as fixed width columns. Now I am going to select CSV comma separated value. When I use custom, there is column separator option and new line separator option. Let us cover this and let us move on to the other one. And you could see column separators, different column separators, space, tab, fine, colon, semicolon, all these. We can use multiple, fine. And new separator also, new line separator, space, tab or new line. Okay, if you want to add one more, you could just use this in, fine. Now let us move on to CSV, where I am going to select as semicolon, fine. Now let us just try to use this for our data. Where is our data? It is here. Yes, let me just copy this and paste it here, sample input. I'm going to give the sample input here. And so this is our lab, fine. This is our lab where we are doing some trial and error. So accordingly we can change our input as well. Accordingly we can change the table options or data formatting options if we are not getting the result as expected. Okay, now I am going to use this first row as column headers and CSV format, and column separator is, what is the column separator here? It is semicolon, right? This is my column separator, this one, fine. Now let me click on the preview, fine. You could see employee first name, last name, age. So this is the expectation, right? This is what I am expecting to be in my Excel file, fine. But if you see this age string, employee string, it is by default has taken, considered all the column data types as string. Now when I say auto detect column types and preview, let us see if there is any change. Fine, you notice the difference, right? When I use this auto detect column types, it has automatically detected and came to know that this is number and it is supposed to be in 32. When I remove this, all by default has taken considered as a string. So that is what makes the difference. Okay, so this is fine, right? So my data sample input is fine. No need to change anything in this. So it is perfect. Now I'm just clicking OK. And what I'm going to do, so coming back to this one, data table. So choose where to save the data table. So for that I'm just using Ctrl+K and creating one data table variable in order to save the data in this. Okay, so employee details, fine. This is my data table. Quickly go to this variable panel and you could see stremp details, which is nothing but the output of this read text file, and also input of this generate emp data table, and dt_emp details, which is nothing but a data table variable type and scope with this sequence. Fine. Now what is our agenda? Our agenda is reading text data is completed, and now we are going to copy the data to an Excel file. Fine. For that, what I did, I have created employee details, one Excel file with no data. Okay, let me remove this. Let me just, fine. I'm going to save this and close this. Employee details. Nothing is there, right? Fine. So I'm going to close this file. Now I'm going to use read range activity. Read range workbook. We have covered the difference, read range Excel and read range workbook, when to use and what is the difference. Where is it? Yeah, this one, read range workbook. Okay, so I'm giving this Excel file path, employee details. Okay, I'm giving sheet name and leaving this range as it is. And here I'm supposed to provide, sorry, it needs to be, it needs to be right range, right? We are supposed to write the data and back to the Excel file. Fine. Extremely sorry for that. I'm going to use right range workbook, where I'm going to write my data from the data table back to the Excel file, which is nothing but this particular employee details.xls. So I'm going to give this file and sheet name. Fine. Now my input should be passed here. Input is nothing but our data table, right? What is our data table name? It is dt underscore emp details. Okay. Understood? So first we have read the data from the text file and copied into and saved it into a string. Now next we are going to use that string, pass that string, and selected some, let me show it in properties, and selected the CSV passing and column separators. We have indicated a column separator, and then we set one output data table, because this generate data table from text activity will generate a data table as an output. Fine. And I have given auto detect types and types in the sense data types. Okay, and use column header, all these options using this options. Okay, two ways, either we can use this for previewing purpose, or we can directly give the values, set the configuration using properties panel for these options. Okay, now what we are doing, we are going to write that values to a Excel file, write the values in the data table into an Excel file. Fine. Now let us quickly execute this. Before that, let me close this file. Okay, now nothing been opened, right? Yes. So let us quickly run this file. Let us see the output, because we have provided a log message here, right? If you see, structured data from the text file is this one. So it has been saved into a string variable. Later it has moved to generate data table from text activity and executed. Okay, now let us see what is there in this Excel, because we have written all this data from data table to an Excel file, right? Just refresh this, and then where is our file? This is our file. Let us go back to this and let us see this. Fine. Noticed any difference in this data? Headers been missing, right? So let us understand the reason. Here, if you see in this right range workbook, add headers is there, right? Let us select this, save it, and re-execute this. Fine. Let us see now. Just refresh this and let us open and see whether the headers are there or not. Perfect, right? We got the headers as well. Fine. So this is how we can use this generate data table from text activity in order to generate a data table. This is a very simple workflow which I have shown, and in this we can use multiple operations on this data table. At last we can write it back to an Excel file. For sample, I am going to do something with this data table. Just for our practice purpose, what I'm going to do is, we have this data, right? We have this data. Based on this age data, I'm going to have one more eligibility check for an insurance. Okay, if the employee's age is more than 45, then they are eligible for a particular insurance. So that needs to be calculated, validated and set yes or no in this particular row. Okay, so that is my agenda. Now what I am going to do, I am just deleting this particular data, save it, okay, close it. So let us play with this data table now. Okay, for that I'm going to add one more new column, right? Because we have only 1 2 3 4 columns, and one more new one should be eligibility, right? So I'm going to add eligibility, and let us see how it looks like. So this is what we are going to do. Now I am going to set this as yes, no, something like that based on the age. Fine. And for this new column, let us use add column activity. Okay. Two ways. Either we can update the text file with a new column, or we can add the new column in a data table itself during our coding. So I'm using add data column activity. I'm just simply drag and drop here. Fine. I hope you are doing along with me, right? A data column object that is to be appended. Okay, this is what we are supposed to use. Column name we are supposed to give, and data table name. So our data table name is dt underscore emp details, and let us use this column name as eligible. Fine. Next, what I'm going to do, I have selected this string. Okay, and in the options, allow this as true, allow db null, and also maximum length I have set it to 10. Okay, now let us just save this, and our agenda is to set yes or no. Fine. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm just using some for each row. There is for each row in data table, yes. Okay, I'm passing this dt employee details. In this, I'm checking whether the age is greater than 45 or not. For that, what I'm going to do, current row of, what is the name of this? Let me see, age, right? Age is greater than 45, greater than or equals to 45. Okay, then what we are supposed to do, okay, wait, I'm adding cint. Come on, yeah. Okay, so later, if it is greater than or equals to 45, we are supposed to update the corresponding eligible column as yes, right? So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to assign this current row of eligible, yes, okay, else no. Fine. Later we are writing it back to our workbook. So let us quickly execute this to understand. We just did some small operation on this. That means we are just using this for each row, and then if to understand to identify whether the age, employee age, satisfies the insurance policy or not. Based on that we are updating the column, eligible column, accordingly, like yes or no. Now it has executed. Let us just refresh this and see our Excel file. Okay, so yes, perfect. So you have understood, right? On the data table we just added one more new column, and according to the business logic it has updated the rows accordingly, the employee record accordingly. So this is how we can use our generate data table from text activity in order to generate a data table with the structured text which we can read from the text file. Okay, so I hope this is a useful session for you. We'll do some more practice sessions on data table in our next videos. Okay, so so far whatever support you have provided to this channel is so fabulous, and expecting the same kind of support going forward as well. If you are a new visitor, please subscribe the channel for next videos. Meet you through our next videos. Thank you so much for the support so far. Bye bye.